They told you if you just worked harder, prayed longer, hustle more, think positive, and everything you desire will come. But what if I told you that's not how real transformation works? What if the more you chase, the more it escapes? Because what's truly yours doesn't need to be forced. Carl Jung didn't teach people to chase success, love, or answers. He taught them to listen, to the whispers of the unconscious mind, to the patterns repeating in silence, and to the part of you that already knows. Jung believed that what's meant for you has a strange way of showing up, but only after you stop becoming someone else to deserve it. And that's the twist. The more you push, the further you get from alignment. It's not about earning your destiny, it's about remembering it. But most people don't realize this until they've exhausted themselves trying to open the wrong doors. You want to know why things aren't working, why the job, the person, the breakthrough keeps slipping through your fingers. Maybe it's not a delay. Maybe it's not the devil. Maybe it's divine protection, waiting for you to become who you really are. What if all the confusion, all the almosts, all the painful endings were messages from your inner world, trying to align you with something deeper? The truth is, people don't miss their destiny because it's hidden. They miss it because they weren't ready to recognize it. And that's where shadow work, healing the inner child, and the individuation process come in. Most people are so distracted looking for signs in the sky that they miss the signals rising from their own soul. You think it's not working. But what if it's working perfectly, just not the way your ego wanted it to? This isn't a video about passive hope or magical thinking. This is about alignment, precision, listening to your inner compass. Carl Jung believed that life speaks through patterns, and those patterns, those coincidences that hit your heart like a secret message, are not random. They are the language of your soul trying to guide you back to your real path. And once you understand how to interpret them, life begins to feel rigged in your favor. So if you've been feeling stuck, lost, disconnected from your purpose, or like something just out of reach is calling you, this is for you. Because what's meant for you is already searching for you too. The question is, will you finally stop long enough to let it catch you? There's something almost mischievous about how life arranges the people we meet, the books we stumble upon, or the places we just happened to walk into. Carl Jung didn't believe in coincidences. Instead, he introduced us to synchronicity, the mysterious dance between our unconscious mind and the outer world. It's not magic, it's meaning. And that meaning shows up when we stop brushing off those random moments, like running into a childhood friend on the day you were about to give up on something big, or opening a journal to a page that speaks exactly to your current pain. These are not accidents, they're messages. When you begin doing consistent shadow work, these synchronicities become clearer, louder, and more purposeful. Imagine you're stuck in a phase where nothing seems to move forward. You feel unseen, maybe even a little cursed. But then, out of nowhere, someone mentions a book that speaks directly to your hidden wounds. Maybe it's The Drama of the Gifted Child or Man and His Symbols. You read it, and suddenly, a part of you that felt numb wakes up. That is not coincidence. That's the individuation process in motion. It's your unconscious guiding you back to yourself through breadcrumbs only your soul would recognize. The problem? Most people shrug these moments off, but the ones who pay attention, who lean in, begin to experience life less as a maze and more as a sacred map. You see, destiny isn't a straight line. It curves, dips, and sometimes loops back when we least expect it. But those unexpected turns are often where the real magic hides. Synchronicity works like a whisper from the self. It won't shout. It requires stillness, inner listening, and a sense of wonder. If you've ever asked yourself, why now? Why here? Why this? Pay attention, that's your cue. And the more we engage in practices like healing the inner child, journaling, or even mindful solitude, the easier it becomes to notice these soft nudges from within. The universe isn't random, it's intimate, and it often speaks through the cracks in your logic. One of the most powerful things you can do is start recording your synchronicities. Seriously, get a notebook. Every time something too perfect happens, write it down. You'll begin to notice patterns, themes, symbols, even repeating numbers or dreams that echo your real-life dilemmas. These are signals from the unconscious mind trying to realign your outer path with your inner truth. And if you ignore them, well, don't worry, they'll knock again, sometimes louder, sometimes through discomfort. But once you learn to recognize this language, you'll stop chasing and start cooperating with what's meant for you. And that shift, that's where everything begins to align. There's a quiet rebellion in choosing not to chase, especially in a world that worships hustle, obsession, and forcing outcomes. But Carl Jung knew better. He understood that the psyche doesn't unfold under pressure. It opens when it feels safe. When you let go of the need to control every detail of your journey, you're not giving up, you're stepping into alignment. That's the paradox. People think surrender is weakness, but spiritually speaking, surrender is strategy. It's the art of stepping back just enough to let what is yours find its way, through timing, through intuition, through the unconscious mind doing its quiet, intricate work beneath the surface. Think of the times you gripped so tightly onto something, a relationship, a job, an outcome, only to feel it slip further away. The tighter the grip, the faster it runs. That's no accident. What resists, persists. But what you bless with release often returns to you transformed, or is replaced by something better aligned. This is where shadow work becomes a radical act. Because to let go, you first have to face what you're afraid to lose. Maybe you're not chasing success. Maybe you're chasing validation. Maybe it's not love you crave, but rescue. When you let go of the illusion and face the root, what's real can finally rise. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus taught us, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Jung would nod in agreement, because both understood that the soul has its own rhythm, and often it's not synced with the ego's impatience. So how do you practice this alignment in daily life? Start small. Stop forcing conversations that drain you. Say no when your gut says no, even if your logic says yes. Reconnect with your body through grounding practices. Let nature remind you. The river flows by following the path of least resistance, not by pushing against the rocks. What's meant for you doesn't need to be chased. It needs to be received. But here's the trick. You can't receive with clenched fists. The individuation process requires an open hand, an open heart, and the courage to trust that not getting what you want might be the greatest gift. You align by becoming the version of you that's ready for what's coming. And that takes trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your healing. Trust in the timing of things far beyond your conscious understanding. And when that trust feels shaky, remember, sometimes the greatest breakthroughs begin with the decision to stop fighting and start flowing. Most people run from what hurts, and that's fair. Who wouldn't want to avoid the sting of shame, rejection, or guilt? But what if those very wounds are hiding the path to your purpose? Carl Jung's most controversial and liberating idea was this: everything we suppress doesn't disappear. It hides in the unconscious mind, shaping our life from the shadows. This is the realm of the shadow, the parts of us we deny, abandon, or pretend not to feel. But ironically, it's also where your power sleeps. What's meant for you isn't always bathed in light. Sometimes it's buried under everything you're afraid to look at. Think of the dreams you gave up on, the relationships you sabotaged, the moments you felt unworthy of good things. We tend to think life is punishing us when, in fact, it's inviting us to heal. Shadow work is the process of bringing light to what has been hiding. It's messy, yes, but it's also the most honest thing you can do. Let's say you always attract emotionally unavailable partners. That's not bad luck. That's a mirror. Your shadow might be asking, what part of me is afraid of true intimacy? Facing that is uncomfortable, but it's also the beginning of freedom. It's not about blame. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that got left behind. There's a saying, what you resist persists. What you embrace dissolves. And the same is true for your shadow. When you stop avoiding your grief, your anger, your fear, they stop controlling you. Jung didn't want you to fight your demons. He wanted you to befriend them. Because often, what we label as dark is simply unloved. Think about it. The person you envy. They might represent a potential in you that you haven't yet claimed. The situation that triggers you. It could be a signal that your boundaries need strengthening. Shadow work isn't about digging endlessly into your pain. It's about liberating the wisdom inside it. And here's the wildest part. Sometimes, the very thing you avoid most holds the exact transformation your soul is craving. That difficult conversation? It could unlock years of emotional numbness. That childhood wound you pretend didn't shape you. It may be the key to your empathy and your voice. In the individuation process, this is sacred territory. It's the descent before the rising, the cocoon before the wings. If you're brave, enough to sit with your discomfort instead of fleeing it, you may just find that destiny isn't lost. It's been waiting for you, right there in the dark. There's a sacred timing to everything. But the ego, it hates waiting. It wants results. Now clarity, now love now, and yet the soul moves differently. Carl Jung understood this paradox intimately. He taught that the unconscious mind is like fertile soil. It germinates quietly beneath the surface until the conditions are ripe. No matter how much you water a seed, it won't sprout until it's ready. And so it is with what's meant for you. That opportunity you feel blocked from, it might not be denial. It might just be delay until the version of you who can truly hold it arrives. It's not that your dreams are too big. It's that your container might still be too small. Maturity isn't about age. It's about capacity. Life won't hand you what you want until you've become someone who can handle it. And that's not punishment. It's protection. That's why healing the inner child is so essential. Because often, it's not the adult in you making decisions. It's the wounded child, still craving safety or recognition. If you're stuck, it might be because your adult dreams are trying to run on a child's emotional wiring. The universe doesn't want you to fake strength. It wants you to build it. The individuation process is the soul's way of saying, you're not ready yet, but you're on your way. It's the art of becoming whole, layer by layer, truth by truth. And part of that journey is releasing the timeline you imagined. Maybe you thought you'd be married by now, or thriving in your career, or free from anxiety. But real transformation doesn't follow your calendar. It follows your readiness. Think about it. How many times have you finally received something you once begged for and realized you would have ruined it had it come sooner? That wasn't failure. That was grace. Here's what no one tells you. Readiness isn't a goal. It's a byproduct. It shows up when you do the deep, often invisible work of self-alignment. And yes, sometimes that looks like therapy, or a silent retreat, or saying no to what once thrilled you, or simply sitting still when your instincts scream, do more. You don't chase your future, you grow into it. And as you do, life begins to meet you differently. Doors that were once sealed start to open. Not because you forced them, but because you fit them now. But even then, how do you know which door is actually yours? Your mind can make lists, calculate odds, weigh pros and cons, but your intuition, it just knows. And yet, most people spend their lives ignoring that quiet voice within. Carl Jung saw intuition not as a mystical force, but as a fundamental function of the unconscious mind. A bridge between what we know and what we feel is true. It's the language of the soul. Subtle, symbolic, sometimes irrational, but profoundly accurate. You've felt it before. That sudden urge to take a different route, to call someone out of the blue, or to walk away without a reason you can explain. That's not random. That's your compass. When you're disconnected from intuition, life feels like static. You second-guess everything. You chase things that don't feed you. But when you rebuild that inner trust, clarity begins to emerge, not from the outside world, but from your core. A big part of this restoration involves healing the inner child, who often learned early on that their feelings were too much, wrong, or not safe to express. If that child grew up silenced, guess what? Your adult intuition likely whispers too quietly now. Rebuilding it means reparenting yourself with compassion. You start listening to your hunches. You act on subtle feelings, and you stop apologizing for just knowing. So how do you strengthen your intuition practically? Begin with small, consistent practices. Try dream journaling. Jung believed dreams were the unconscious mind's direct messages to us, coded in metaphor but rich in truth. You can also track emotional resonance. When something feels off, honor that. If a conversation drains you, step back. If a place gives you peace, return often. Practice listening to your body's reactions, not just your thoughts. Over time, your inner compass becomes more reliable. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Eventually, you won't need to ask others for direction. You'll feel your own path. And that's the real secret. What's meant for you isn't always loud, obvious, or logical. Sometimes it comes disguised as a whisper, a pattern, or a gut feeling. The individuation process isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. And intuition? That's the thread that ties it all together. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being in relationship with the unknown and learning to trust that your soul knows the way, even when your mind doesn't. And the moment you start listening, that's when life starts responding in kind. So now that you've seen how the unconscious speaks, the question isn't if your destiny is calling. It's, are you finally ready to answer? Because here's the truth. No one wants to admit your breakthrough isn't hidden in some faraway place. It's hidden in the parts of yourself you've been afraid to face, in your shadows, in your inner child's unmet needs, in the quiet voice you've been trained to ignore. And what's meant? For you, it's not lost, it's waiting, patiently, for you to align, to mature, to let go of what never fit, so that what was always yours can finally take its rightful place. Now pause. Be honest with yourself. What are you still holding on to that's blocking what you say you want? Who are you pretending to be, just to feel worthy of receiving? What patterns are repeating in your life? And what would happen if, for once, you actually listened to what they're trying to teach you? Maybe it's time to stop chasing and start becoming, because your intuition isn't guessing, it's remembering. And your healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about reclaiming what you abandoned to survive. So, will you finally slow down enough to hear what your soul's been trying to say? If this video stirred something in you, don't let that fade. Comment below. What spoke to you the most? What sign or pattern have you been noticing lately that you now realize might not be random? And if this helped you, imagine who else might need it. Share it, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell, because every week we're diving deeper into the kind of truths that don't just inform, they transform. And if this is the beginning of your awakening, just know, you're not late. You're right on time.